everyone, Sarah Joseph here with your Talk to Me Tuesday for oh no, it's August now, it's not July anymore, August 4th. I am Sarah Joseph and I empower people, parents, couples, and professionals with tools that build connection, increase joy, and create ease while strengthening relationships. Tonight's topic is anger, yours and theirs. We're going to be talking about what anger is, some information about anger and tips for handling it, your own, and handling your children's anger, and essential oils that you can use to support yourself in that. Tonight you got me in my pajamas. It is hot here. I don't know about where you are, but I'm feeling hot and sticky and I just needed to be in comfy clothes. So show up as you are, right? I hope you are feeling comfortable and have a drink with you, something soothing and cold. I got my nice cold glass of water with a splash of lemon in it. It helps me feel refreshed. And yeah, get on and get comfortable and say hello. Tag a friend, let them know we're here and what we're doing, what we're talking about. I'm here every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. talking about topics that you want me to talk about. So I want to know from you what you would like me to talk about next week. Okay, I usually do a poll or something during the week just to give you some ideas on different things, but I would love to hear what topics you're interested in hearing more about, or if you have specific questions about parenting or essential oils, please send them my way. Okay. Let's get started with tonight's content. So we are talking about anger, and I wanted to start off by saying that anger is normal. It's an emotion, just like every other emotion, like sadness or happiness. And it's there for a reason, right? We need to be able to experience anger sometimes. It can be really helpful. Anger tells us when something's wrong. It helps protect us. It might tell other people that they're doing something to us that is hurtful, or something that we don't like they crossed a boundary. So anger can be a very useful tool, right? And especially if we have experienced something very hurtful or traumatic, when we look back and we're processing that situation and we see that we were angry, we can see that the anger is helpful in letting us know that we did something, right? We tried to do something, that we weren't just passively allowing the traumatic or the hurtful event to happen. So anger can be a really useful tool in not only the here and now, but in processing those hurtful events later on. It is a normal fight, flight, or freeze response, right? So when we're feeling like we are that there is a threat, then we often feel our anger rising, right? But anger can also be caused by frustration, irritation. Lots of things can cause anger. Anger is a bit of a secondary emotion, right? Which means that there's usually something underneath it, right? That came first. So first we might feel sad or hurt, and then we get angry about it. Or sometimes anger is easier to show, especially for men, right? For men, anger is an emotion that is acceptable, where sometimes sadness isn't, or other softer emotions, if that's even a word. Right? Do you know what I'm saying though? For males, anger has been one of the emotions that has been acceptable for them to express over the years, and now we're asking them to not express their anger through the violence and loud voices, and to start expressing other emotions as well as anger. So sometimes anger is a substitute for other emotions that we don't understand or know how to express. And sometimes it's just it protects us, right? We call it an umbrella emotion because sometimes it, with an umbrella you can protect yourself from other stuff, either by protecting yourself by covering yourself, or with the pointy end of the umbrella by jabbing it at people. So anger often comes after another emotion. And copaiba is a great oil to help us figure out what the first emotion was, right? So anger is the secondary emotion. Another emotion often comes first that fuels that anger, and copaiba can help us unveil the emotion behind the anger. So say that you were uncertain why you were so angry at somebody, but you just couldn't shake it. And you could use copaiba to help you figure that out, right? And it may have been that they hurt you or embarrassed you. There's many different reasons why we get angry with people. That really isn't about being angry. It's about something else. So if you're just tuning in, thanks for joining us. I covered a lot in 6 minutes. That's amazing. We're talking about anger. And I'm Sarah Joseph. We were just talking about how anger is normal and it's helpful, and that it's a secondary emotion. And if you're not sure what the first emotion that came before the anger, you're not sure what was fueling the anger, copaiba is a really good essential oil to help you draw that out. Yeah, I think that sometimes we get really stuck in anger, right? We get resentful and we hold a grudge and we just can't let go of past hurts, right? And we get stuck in the anger spot. But what's really happening is we haven't healed the heart part of us yet, right? And so we've been holding on to that piece, that hurt part that's underneath the anger. And when we are able to express that, when we're able to unveil it and release it, then the anger dissipates as well, and the resentment, right? So that's where copaiba is really helpful, in helping us bring that to the surface. Now, sometimes I had a question come in from one of our viewers asking why their child is so angry and seems to be speaking so meanly to them recently, and it seems like it's happening more frequently, and they think that the only reason could be that they're spending more time together. And that is completely possible. Sometimes, children they make weird connections between things. So if they're not able to go to school or see their friends or go to their hockey or dance or whatever their extracurricular activities are, and they're home with you, sometimes you get the blame, even though it's not your fault, right? Even though COVID is to blame, and it's nothing that you could possibly have done to prevent that. Sometimes you just get blamed because COVID isn't a person, right? COVID isn't there. So sometimes our children will take things out on us that have nothing to do with us. And in that situation, you can just simply say to them, wow, you sound really angry, right? Just really validate feelings, because all feelings are okay, right? All feelings are okay, and all feelings are valid. You don't have to agree with somebody's feelings in order to validate them. And I'm not saying that all behavior associated with feelings is okay. That's where we like to make the difference. That we need to separate those, right? We need to separate the child from the behavior, and we need to separate the feeling from the behavior. when we're able to empathize with the child and validate their feelings, we're able to help them tell their story. We're able to help them figure out what's going on for themselves, and tell the story of what's going on inside of them, right? They need help. They need help figuring it out, and they need help expressing it because they're just learning. And so when you feel like you're being attacked, step back, deal with yourself first, right? Because mama, that's triggering, right? If you feel like your child is angry with you and attacking you, that's going to be triggering for you. It's going to be upsetting. So we need to address our own emotions first and take care of ourselves. And that might just be taking a couple breaths, saying something kind to ourselves, acknowledging, oh, this is hard. I'm trying to keep my cool here. Really trying, right? Just acknowledging that this is difficult for you can often help diffuse your own trigger so that you can show up for your child in a way that they need, right? Which is just being able to hold that emotion with them, allowing them to express it, helping them make sense of it. And then, if they have been expressing their emotions, their anger, in a way that's confrontational, aggressive, with violence or destruction, then of course we need to stop that, right? Safety first. But we also want to be able to help them figure out how to express that anger in a more healthy way, in a way that is socially acceptable, and kind of meets our family norms. But it still allows an expression of emotion. Sometimes our family norms is suppressing emotion, and that's not okay. We need to be able to have that full range of emotion, and we need to allow our children to have a full range of emotion, as much as that might be uncomfortable for us. It's okay for our children to be upset. It's okay for them to feel disappointment, and it's okay for them to feel anger. The best things that we can do for our children when they are feeling anger is for us to be able to support them through that, right? For us to be able to acknowledge it, validate it, empathize with them. So when you see your child in a full-blown angry mood, if they're being aggressive, or violent, then the first thing that you want to do is remove them from the situation, right? And so that might just be taking them to another room. Sometimes just changing your environment, so walking outside or leaving that space, getting a change of scenery can often help us calm down from that angry state. And calling a pause. So I think I've talked about this before, that when we call a pause, it's really just about taking a break, being able to take a break from whatever's going on so that we can soothe ourselves and soothe our child. We want to help our brain go from that guard dog is barking, my wise old owl has flown the coop, to getting our wise old owl back on its perch, right? So we want to maybe do some deep breathing, deep belly breathing, taking a break, doing something soothing that's helpful and calming to our brains. And then once that has happened, we can validate, empathize, use our curiosity questions to help open up a conversation where maybe our child can explain to us what's happening for them. Now, with that said, it's sometimes kids don't know. Sometimes we as adults don't know why we're getting so upset about something. And so sometimes questions like, why are you so angry, aren't helpful in that moment, because they don't know the answer, right? And when our minds are confused, often we just get angry again, or we feel disconnected from the person who's trying to help us because they don't understand us, right? Even though we don't understand ourselves. I can't tell you why I'm mad, but you should know, right? Right. So we want to just maybe, use those 3 steps we talked about a few weeks ago, and is in my free download. So if you want to get a copy of the free download, all you have to do is comment below. I'll put the link in the comments, and you can download the e-guide for 3 steps for helping an upset child calm down. And that will totally apply to anger as well, right? And those 3 steps for simply taking the pause, empathizing, and then moving into solving a problem, focusing on solutions together, okay? So often we get angry because we don't see the answer, right? And so when we don't see the answer, it's often, we often need help solving the problem, okay? So I will pop the link to download the free guide into the Facebook comments thread when I'm done here. I'm not very good at multitasking, so I'm not going to try to do it right now. If somebody else is on who knows where to find the link, please go ahead and drop it in the comments. So we're about partway through our talk on anger right now. And if you're just joining us, then please drop a hi into the comments below. And I encourage you to go back and watch from the start. If you're watching this for the first time, all the way from the start, plus, type replay into the comments below to let me know. We've been talking about anger, and I was just going over some quick tips for helping a child who's upset. And I did mention that if you're the one who has gotten angry, that it's really important to deal with your own emotions before you try to show up for your child. Coriander is a wonderful oil to help disperse anger. It helps us see things from other people's perspectives as well. So it's a really great one. You can use that topically, diluting it, putting a drop on the back of your neck, inhaling deeply from your hands, or diffusing a drop of copaiba and coriander together can really be a great setup for taking a pause and helping disperse the anger that's building in the household, or tension that's building in the air. We were talking about taking your pause. The other thing I wanted to mention is that sometimes I hear from parents that their child goes from 0 to 60, right? That it doesn't seem like there's any buildup of irritation before they blow into a full-blown meltdown, or full aggressive, angry fit. And I want to mention that this is related to your window of tolerance. Now, the window of tolerance, I want you to imagine that we all wake up in the morning and we have a window, right, that's open. And some people wake up with a window that's very wide, and some people wake up with a window that's very narrow, right? And that depends on our brain chemistry, whether we have a learning disability or mental health, mental illness, if we're dealing with mental health challenges like a lot of stress or lack of sleep, if we are going through a separation or divorce, if you have ADHD, anxiety, learning disabilities, all of those things can shrink your window of tolerance. If you experience trauma, right, they can all shrink your window of tolerance. Now, a window of tolerance is simply your ability to cope with stressors. So now imagine that, your child wakes up and they have a small window. They're going to be able to deal with a lot less stress, right? And so if they have this small window, every bit of stress is going to shrink their window more and more. And then when it's closed, they can't handle any more stress, and that's when you'll see that explosion, right? They'll often go into the angry fit. Now, so it's important that we recognize this, because some kids, some people are going to have a very narrow window of tolerance. They're not going to be able to handle any stress at all. And that you know, that is important to recognize, as we can do something about it. When this is the case, we can work to expand our windows so that we can handle more stress, okay? And the way that we do that is really through helping ourselves with thought processes, learning what self-talk and what, like, maybe tracking our thoughts and our self-talk to see what's happening there. Sometimes as simple as I didn't get enough sleep or I'm hungry, right? So we need to just look at how can we expand that window of tolerance so that we can handle more stress. And so self-care, sleep, eating regularly, practicing breathing techniques, right? Using your essential oils, getting exercise, getting outside into nature, all of those things are going to help expand that window of tolerance a bit, and build it out, right? That's what we want. When the thought tracking is pretty important as well when it comes to anger. Imagine yourself getting annoyed with your children who are making a lot of noise in the background while you're trying to work. And in your head, you're having thoughts that go something like this. I can't take this any longer. I'm gonna lose it. Those kids are so freaking loud. Oh, if they don't stop, I am going to lose my mind, right? If that's what's happening in your head, there is a really good chance that you are going to lose it. You are going to move very quickly into anger. You're basically talking yourself into it, right? So, so being able to recognize that those thoughts are not helpful in reducing angry outbursts can be really helpful, because when we interrupt the thoughts, then we can change the thoughts, right? We can change it into something that sounds more like this. Oh, those kids are really loud. Sounds like they're having a lot of fun. I'm having a hard time focusing. Whew, this is hard for me. I could ask them to be a little bit quieter. I can take some deep breaths. I can do this, right? You see the difference there? If I was the first person, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna blow, right? But the second person, the second way that I did that, I had there was much more tolerance there. There was more patience. I had the ability to bring myself back down to a normal level. Not saying that I wasn't annoyed or wasn't having a hard time with it. I was acknowledging that I had a hard time with it, and acknowledging that that it was bothering me, but also that I had the power to control my reaction, right? And so when we're able to recognize when we're starting to hear our guard dog barking, when we're starting to move into an angry stance in ourselves, then we can take a pause then. We can take a break then to be able to validate our own feelings, to soothe our own systems, right? And then we can ask for what we need or move to a different spot or whatever it is, right? We can find a solution to the problem that is provoking us. And once we learn how to do that, it's really easy to share those steps with our kids to be able to help them to gain control of their anger. And now again, please, this is something that takes some work, right? Because we have developed brain patterns that have us moving in these steps very quickly. And so it takes some practice to be able to catch yourself. So if you're not catching yourself right away, please do not beat yourself up or give up. Keep trying, okay? And with our children's brains are still developing. So if we think we have a hard time doing this, oh boy, would they have a hard time doing it, huh? So it's important that we're able to support them through it. Their little brains need us to be with them while they're going through that process of trying to deal with their anger. Learning how to express it in a way that is healthy, right? And is doesn't feel like they're out of control, because that can be a really scary thing, right? It can be scary for children and adults alike to see somebody in an out of control state, and it can be really scary to feel out of control. So it's important that that we just recognize that it's scary and it can be hard to handle, and be compassionate, right? We've all been there. I believe that most of us have gone to a place where we felt a bit out of control, and we can appreciate that it can be scary for others too. So use your magnolia and have some compassion for yourself and some compassion for others. And keep practicing those deep breaths, using your essential oils to have the deep breathing, and practicing the taking the pause and validating your own feelings, in order to make this happen quicker in your brain, in your body, in your pattern. Make it a habit, right? Okay, so we talked about anger. We talked about it being normal and helpful, and as a secondary emotion, that there's often another emotion that comes with it, right? And we talked about our windows of tolerance, and we talked about 3 tips for handling anger, whether it's ours or theirs. And those tips were taking a pause, tracking thoughts, right? And building that window of tolerance, using your essential oils and taking deep breaths. And then once you're able to calm yourself and help your child calm, then you're able to talk more, and express anger in a more healthy way. And that might just look like, running it out, or some people like to scream into a pillow, right? Because often anger feels like a big ball of energy inside of you that just needs to get out, right? So how can you get that energy out in a way that's not going to be destructive or violent or scary to people, right? And sometimes it's like learning how to tame that energy back down, change its color, soothe it, and help it calm. And sometimes it's about letting it come out, but letting it burn off, maybe jumping on the trampoline or going for a run, burning it off like that, right? And sometimes it's about really just letting it out. So going into the forest and screaming at the top of your lungs, or screaming into a pillow, right? If you have some ways that you like to express anger in a healthy way, I'd love to hear what they are below. So please give us a comment. Okay, so I think that covers everything that I like to say about anger tonight. I was going to show you, let me see if I can find it here. I'll show you the card for anger. Let me just, I don't know if I can find it. Hold on 2 seconds. See, I told you I'm not very good at this multitasking thing, right? Okay, here we go. All right, here is the card from my Parenting Essentials deck. That is anger. And you can see anger, it tells you, is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. And then it also, the card decks are set up in this way that it tells you what oil suggestions, and I talked about coriander and copaiba and how to use them earlier. And then it also covers some parenting tips. So it talks about taking a pause and then not trying to solve a problem or correct behavior while you're angry or while your child is angry, right? And avoiding reacting to aggression with aggression. that's hard, right? We talked about that. It's hard not to get triggered when you're faced with somebody attacking you. And when a child is displaying anger, call a pause or remove them from the situation, right? Validate and ask questions. But be careful with your questions because they might not know the answers, right? We want to help them piece together what's going on for them because they might not know. So if you haven't got a deck of these parenting essentials cards, you can see how helpful they can be in the moment when you're not sure about how to handle a situation. It can tell you what oils you can use and how to use them, and then give you some parenting tips. You can order a deck of these cards on my website, sarahjoseph.ca, or from Oil Life. And there are 21 other cards in there with parenting solutions on them. So I hope you found this helpful. And if you did, don't forget to download your free copy of the How to Calm an Upset Child. I'll put the link in the comments below once I'm done here. And tune in next week for our Talk to Me Tuesday. I haven't picked a topic yet, so if you have a topic that you'd like me to talk about, please send me a private message or an email, or just comment below. Yeah, thanks again for joining me. Love having you here, and I will see you next Tuesday.